Right, so I'm just carrying on with this painting that I've started using inks. I used several coloured inks and a water spray bottle and just let it all bleed and drip into each other and just moved the canvas around to get that drip effect. And then after it was dry, I've used what I've got there to bring out some things that I saw and feel, and you can see that I have just very loosely picked out some flowers, carrying on with this series that I've been doing after my recent trip away, and some mountains in the background. And I don't actually know quite, well, I never know what the end result's going to be, but I just go with it as I'm working and things emerge, and sometimes I get rid of what I've just done, sometimes I add things, and I just go with the flow and find that a image just presents itself along the line somewhere, and that's what it's meant to be. So I'm just going to continue on from here with highlighting these flowers and a few other bits and pieces. So using a really fine brush, I'm going to be using white Daler Rowney Artist ink. I'll just show you. This bottle's a bit of a mess because I refill it from a larger bottle, but that's the ones that you can buy from the store, or the bigger size depending on how often you use inks. So I use the bigger size and just refill these little ones with the dropper. Makes it much easier. So I'm going to be using white and just not too much on my brush because I don't want it to go thick and blobby. I actually want a really fine line. So the white you can see on here and here, that's actually chalk. So initially I chalk out my design just very loosely. I don't look at anything being perfect. I just see where the shapes go and see if that feels right. Once I've done that and it all looks good, I've used Prussian blue Dana Rowney ink to just do a very loose outline, bearing in mind that I can go over it and get rid of it anytime I want, which is always a good thing for me because I'm always changing my mind. But right now I'm just going to go over with some white as well, so I use the dark and the light to bring it out. And often this is a step that perhaps would be considered to be done last, but I actually need to see this in place so that I can then get balance in the rest of the painting. I find if I leave this step till last, I never can quite see the full painting or get the balance correct. So I'm not being really particular because this style of what I'm doing, I actually want it to be really loose and really free flowing. So I'm coming over now to the side, and there's some flowers down here that I'm going to be doing the same with. And I love using ink because I find it gives me a really wide range of uses and looks. I can be transparent, I can be thick and intense, I can layer it up and create lots of different colours. I'm just going to go around the outside of these too, just so I can see. Right now it's all about just, and the all important, and I talk about it all the time, balance. The very first thing I ever do with a painting is making sure I've got balance. And that's just my way of doing things. There is no right and wrong. So someone else might do something completely differently, and that's okay too. Okay, so you can see it just pops it out a little bit and gives it some definition. I'm just going to go around this leaf actually. I really love these leaves. We find them here in New Zealand, and I've discovered that they're actually all over the world, and I just love the shape of them. I think they're really interesting. They're really sort of full of character, and just I love how broad and big they are. And they were in the jungle when we were away, and I noticed them straight away. Okay, so that just helps me see where I'm going with everything. Giving me that outline. And now I'm going to take a step back and have a look at this for a little bit and just see what else I can see in there and see what else is asking to be highlighted, popped out. I may even see something completely different that I haven't seen before. Okay, so I'm also going to highlight these hills in the background in the same way that I was before. Just using not quite white, just added the tiniest bit of yellow to it to just soften it. And I just use my finger on the edges just to, again, soften everything. I don't want it too harsh to start off with. I can always come back in later. I'm just going with what I feel with where the highlights should be. Again, just a really fine brush at the moment. I can always come in thicker later. Just a really, really fine brush, and with ink, I find ink flows, you get a better line. I have used acrylics doing this many times, but I'm always going back to dip my brush in. Like with one line that I can do this long with ink, I can get that much out of with acrylic. So this is a time saver as well, as the product is better suited for this type of painting, I think. But again, that's just my opinion and how I work. I think that's good for now. I'm just going to leave it at that for the moment, I think, because I don't want to overdo it. I want to have a look at the whole thing again and see what I'm going to do with this sky area. And maybe come in and start filling something on the flowers, again, to get some balance in there. Coming to these flowers now, I've just realised that I really love the dark blue of this, so I started before to add into this flower some of the dark blue just in here to tie it in a little bit and to give it some depth against this petal here, because I wanted this petal here to pop out a little bit. So I've just decided to add some blue in there, and I did that before and I really liked that, so I think I'm going to continue with that. I love this sort of slightly pinky hue, and I don't use pinks a lot. I'm not a big fan of pink, but I love it through here. I'm going to pick that out a little bit without going crazy. I'm just going to add a little tiny bit just to see if I go like that, and then I get my rag and I just use my rag to rub the edges of that. I've just made that a little bit bolder without going crazy and adding too much. I quite like a little bit in here, I think. So again, it's sort of, there's no rhyme or reason. It's just feeling my way and deciding that that's where I would like a bit of this, or that's where I would like a bit of that. I'm just going straight over the chalk that's on there because it will just come off with the ink. Let's put a little bit there too. And so I'm just using what's already in the painting. So most of the hard work as far as deciding what's going on is done. I'm just pulling out what's already there. Now if you look on this side, there's some pink here too. So I'm going to tie that in. I think I'm going to put some pink in the middle here. I'm just going to do it quite loose and just leave that like that for a minute. And just see where that goes. Sometimes it's quite hard for me to talk and paint at the same time because I really don't think when I paint. It's more about feel. And it's hard to feel when you're chatting away. I quite like those lines too. I don't know if I'll keep them, but for now they're just going to stay there until I decide otherwise. Yeah, so that pink is actually quite nice, but I don't want to overdo it. I'm just going to come back to the side now and just might bring that up a little bit to there. And I'm definitely going to pull some of those colours out. I'm just going to wipe off some of this chalk so I can see what's happening here a bit clearer. I'm just using a cheap flannel actually, face cloth. Get rid of some of this chalk so I can. I'm going to put some more leaves around this one, but I haven't decided how yet. I've thought I might bring some up here, sort of like some real foreground ones, quite big, flaxy looking. I don't know, just playing with ideas, not sure yet. Right, orange, one of my favourite colours at the moment. I absolutely love it. So I'm going to highlight some orange in here because I feel that this flower will get lost. I'm going to bring in some depth all around behind it here, but I feel like I need to just pop that out a little bit there. So I'm just going to put in a little bit of orange. It's got a bit of the magenta, the pink on it from before. That actually looks really cool. So I'm going to leave that. Gosh, that looks really nice. So once I've got the depth behind, that's really going to pop out. And that's what I want. I'm thinking I might even put some depth in soon, but I'm just going to keep playing with this orange because I love it. That's looking good. Might put some orange in over on this side. You can see a bit of orange there wanting to come through. I'm just going to pull that out. Oh, I'm really liking that terracotta colour there. I'm going to leave that for now. So layering up, I've already done one layer of orange here. I'm just putting another one on. Yeah, that's looking good. Turned this upside down because what I'm doing is I'm adding some depth in behind these flowers, which are now at the top because the painting's upside down. And I don't want the ink to run down. I want it to run this way initially, because I don't want it to run all down into my flowers. So initially I just turn it this way. Once I've got the ink on and I can see it's not overly dripping, I then flip it back round this way, and what happens is gravity will then pull this down, and so I'll get the depth of colour at the bottom and lighter at the top. I don't know if you can even see what I've done. Let's have a look. Is that a decent angle? I'm not even sure, but just using my rag again to blend. And I do lots of sort of this, and I do very light rubbing. Sometimes I rub hard if I really want to have a different effect, but just very light rubbing and blending. And I'll probably do another layer of this antelope brown. I like that, it looks good. Brown, another colour I haven't used a lot of and found quite difficult to use, because I used to, well I still do love my turquoises and my blues and my purples, but I'm making myself use different colours now. I feel like if I don't use them I never will, and it's just a canvas. I can paint over it if I really don't like what I've done. Easy just to paint over it. So I'm using the browns and the pinks and the colours that have actually frightened me a little bit, to be honest. I haven't really known quite how to use them. And I think it's really easy to get stuck in your ways. I know I do. And I force myself to not. I force myself to do different things. And I think if you want to expand and grow as an artist, then you need to do that. If you're happy doing what you're doing, that's great. But I am never fully satisfied. I'm just one of those people. Gotta keep changing. Yeah, I like that. That looks good. You can see that's just 2 layers or 1.5 layers, and it's just popped it out. Just that flower sticks out way better now.